Welcome everybody to the second part of day 3 here in the Gold Team League. And as you see, Bunnyhoppor and Team Liquid enter the fray today against XHX from VK, who yesterday showed us that he is a force to be reckoned with most likely in this event. He does seem a little bit nervous, although already looking a lot less nervous than he looked in his first match. Strange what an early victory will do to you, especially a hard fought 3-2 like he had to go through. And those opening videos that I like to talk about show the difference between the Chinese scene and the scene that the rest of us play in. So much more vibrant, the videos for the Chinese players. Of course, it looks very much like the Team Liquid one was taken from their Grandmaster images, and that makes a lot of sense. So, can Team Liquid make a splash in the Chinese scene? A lot of these Chinese events love to watch the players from overseas. But Bunnyhoppor here chose to leave up the warrior, and it's something that he did a lot in Grandmasters with reasonable success as well. But again, we are going back in time here to pre-nerf, and I know Demon Hunter was hit, but warrior was also hit a little bit. And at this time, leaving up warrior did seem a tough strategy to get to work. And with XKX's lineup of Spell Druid, his warrior and his rogue, Bunny's going to have to find a way to take down that warrior. He has the secret rogue, the demon hunter, and the mage. And as I said in the first match of the day, if you don't win with the mage against the warrior, you have got some serious hard work to do in this last hero standing. Let's see if XHX can get it done against the rogue. This matchup, whilst a high percentage, is certainly one that can go wrong, and it often goes wrong to the cards Bunnyhoppor has. Blackjack Stunner being held back for the future, and of course Togwaggle. Bunny not known for rushing his plays, and that is why he's done so well over the years. If you ever watch him stream or playing, I was going to say more casually, but you know, that's usually his more casual is top 20 ladder a lot of the time. He does play significantly faster, but he doesn't like to give any opportunity for himself to make a silly mistake. He'll presumably see, like everyone sees coin miscreant there in half a second. But why not think, okay, how's the game going to unfold? What about this second miscreant? What do I do with that? Do I just want to play it for board presence against warrior? 4 health minions are good. Do I want to try and get maximum value out of it? And so on. So he'll just be planning all of those things in advance. But one of the keys to this matchup for the warrior is that anchor, is that double risky skipper. And XHX getting himself into a good spot. I also believe that Bunnyhoppor's slow pace may suit XHX. Again, I'm making judgments based on seeing him play one match. And when I keep saying we're going to learn this together, that's kind of what I mean. I'll make my views, and you good people watching can make your views. And then we will see some of these players in the playoffs to get to the World Championships later in the year. So as always with Rogue, the issue here isn't that you've got nothing to do, it's you have to maximise everything. It's a decent enough roll. So Bunny is trying to keep the secret package back, but your weapon, your dagger as Rogue in the current meta, or in the current meta and the meta at the time this was played, is something you don't really want to be spending mana on because it doesn't do a lot. Like 1 damage at the moment, it's still nice, it's still a good hero power, but there's a lot of 1/4s and 1/5s. And against warrior, 1/10s. And your dagger does impact just on the surface a lot of the time. But Bunny has gone down with the keep my secrets in hand, ready to go. Or keep the package, sorry, in hand, ready to go. Not willing to just put a 1/5 minion out there, which was definitely an option. And now it's XHX, who needs to take control of this a little bit. He has got the double skipper. That will allow him a little bit of freedom in terms of clearing multiple boards. Sometimes you only have the 1 skipper if you don't draw Ankar, and then things get a bit rough. How much, by the way, must Blizzard hate me to put all those R's in one card name? But I'm giving it my best shot. So XHX sort of fishing for more things to do. His hand, whilst very acceptable, did need to just pause and draw some more cards here. And sometimes that little stutter can be what the rogue needs to get into this. But Bunny kind of has the mess of a hand as well. Like, the stutter is not much use in this position. You can just cycle out one secret, which might be the play. That one is ambush. Using my extensive knowledge of the Chinese language. And even now, deciding where to put the 1 damage. On your face, or on your minion. Well, definitely the right move for me on this one. Your health total doesn't really get thrashed down as a rogue. 1 health can matter for combo effects, but really you just want to dominate the board as much as possible. So leaving all your health on your minions, trying to stay out of range of risky skipper nonsense, force them to play that 3rd minion, all that good stuff. Very important. XHX here is a risky skipper into anything you like away from landing a brute. And when you land the brute against rogue, bad things start to happen. Though, as you can see, as already mentioned, Bunnyhoppor has kept himself the option to bounce things back to hand. No mercenaries in hand for XHX, so no totally crazy turn coming up. And I'm just going to double check, but I believe that there is no Grom. It was sort of too early in the meta. Where, yeah, there's no Grom, there's no other... Nothing weird at all in this deck, it's just eggs. He's playing double egg and double Tolvir as it happens. So lots of options on 2 in this particular build. I quite like that. 2 of each is a bit weird, but the deck off the coin can sometimes just stumble a little bit on turn 2. And then get left with this clutter of 3 drops, and you end up playing one of those on turn 4 alongside a lackey that you're kind of forced to put into your board for board presence. And whilst that's all very good and the deck's fantastic, the 2-drop version just cuts that nonsense out. Well, things are getting like an emergency, and saving this blackjack stunner for Bunny here. Going to work out really nicely. This turn pretty much plays itself, let's face it. Other than me having to guess what all the secrets do. And yes, I should know the images, and I'm sure I will by the end of it. You may occasionally hear me just checking I've got the right thing. Repentance and redemption, for some reason, are the 2 that just won't stick in my head the right way round. I guess it's because they start with the same 2 letters or something ridiculous like that, but who knows. Anyway, it is repentance, which makes good sense actually against warrior, even though they do have some little things. A lot of their minions rely on being able to be injured, and if it comes into play with 1 health, then that isn't good for them. But this is the swing turn that XHX has been playing for. This is how the matchup is sort of supposed to go. This is always gets entertaining. How much of your own board are you willing to blow up? So one option here is to trade the brute into the 1-2. Trade off the snake into the ambush token, and then just use your inner rage on the 1-1 and just clear up the board that way. Actually, yeah, the other way to what I just said, you enrage the 2-1, obviously. And that means you don't have to blow up your own board, and you still have a lot of stuff out there. And that is what he's decided to go with. And this is where it just becomes almost impossible for for any sort of comeback. We'll keep an eye on it just in case, but I'm not going anywhere else, so we might as well. Yeah, so he's got 2 chances at getting himself something like a fan. I was going to say some other options if they came to me, but fan was the main one. This Blade Flurry would be another. But the fan will get this done nicely. And then again, you see Bunnyhoppor's meticulous thought process there. I see the fan and I'm instantly like taking that, and I'm a slow player, but Bunny just making sure. And Vendetta will help him with the use of his dagger to get rid of this brute. But look at the resources used up just in staying level and passing turn here. Also worth noting that that is the same room that Bunnyhoppor has been playing GM from in the Europe region, so he is playing from home. And I imagine that this is played on the Chinese server. That could be incorrect. And so this may be a disadvantage to Bunnyhoppor's normal style of play. He does like to use the rope and all of his time, as I've mentioned several times now. That's a positive, not a negative as far as I'm concerned. But if you're playing on a server in China, and if you're playing from Europe in Asia as well, you do experience a small amount of lag, which isn't a lot, but if you're used to cramming a lot of actions in at the end of a turn, be worth keeping an eye on as the league progresses, whether that hinders Bunnyhoppor at any point. Maybe he'll rope out on a turn or something. The word that's used tends to be muscle memory, which always sounds a bit weird in a mind game, but trust me, it's a thing. The number of times I played Demon Hunter cards in the wrong order to attack with because my muscle memory from old pirate decks was basically backwards to how Demon Hunter functions. I know I don't play this card first, but my body's pressed the button before I even tell it to stop. So yeah, the muscle memory is real, and again, could be an issue for Bunnyhoppor in this event. XHX not scared to preload this Tolvir, making it obviously a bigger minion, but if there was some sort of bounce available for Bunny, then it would be a bit of an accident. But he's already seen the 1 Blackjack Stunner, so working on the theory that it should be okay. Morazond could be handy, although a lot of the warrior cards rely on the target being correct, like mercenaries, inner rage, that sort of thing. So Morazond's fine, but it doesn't necessarily replicate what your opponent's board does. It just is an okay card. Another thing that happened to Bunny is that he ended up using up all of his lackeys to clear that monstrous board a few turns ago. That's hindered his Togwaggle. And although he has some decent cards in hand, XHX has the dream here. Always a struggle to know when to use your mercenaries in this matchup, because if Flick Skyshiv comes down after you mercenary a big thing, it can be a massive game changer. And I wonder if he's thinking of splitting this. He can copy 2 different minions if he wants to boost the Armorsmith, for instance, to play around Flick a little bit, or he can conclude from how the game has been played there's no Flick in hand. See what he decides to go with. Always hard to know what the players can read unless it's something absolutely obvious. It looks like he's just going to go for the double 8-9 and say you've got to have it, or that's it. Another option would have been to buff the Armorsmith and have 2 large minions copied rather than 1 ginormous minion copied. But this is setting up next turn lethal. If there is no Flick, it's game over. This is where you need to know how Murazon works, obviously. With all these cards, it will just generate some minions and buff some things, but it won't be good enough for the taunt. But he needs to find a way out of this that isn't that. He really wants to get that Seal Fate off this turn to set up a Togwaggle. I mean, first of all, obviously first things first, he's got to not die this turn. And that's not that easy. Yeah, getting this Togwaggle used was not going to work out for him, and I think he's out of options here now. Yeah, he's looking at how can I use Bamboozle, because Bunnyhoppor is good at playing the human side of the game as well as the technical side. Like, is there a trap I can set when my opponent triggers a Bamboozle that gets me out of trouble? He finds nothing though, and XHX continues his good run here at the start of the Gold Team League. Takes a 1-0 lead. And yeah, Bunnyhoppor instantly cues this mage. This isn't a direct counter to the warrior, but it can definitely make the warrior's life difficult. The warrior doesn't like being frozen up, and the fact it injures its own minions means the mage can quite often pick up the bits and pieces. There is no Grom in this build. This build is too early for when Grom came in. So your direct combo as the warrior is to play Korkon Elite, buff that a couple of times, copy it with mercenaries, and do, let's call it 18 damage with 1 Inner Rage and 1 Rampage. So 18 kind of the magic number. At that point, Bunny will look to be putting down taunt minions as we're going into the sort of 7, 8, 9 mana turns, depending what his health total is. And until then, he'll be looking to play Spoiler. Get to those big mana spells, and Mage becomes very hard to damage from off board. They keep you frozen, they kill your things, and eventually land a big minion of their own. So loads of options available to Bunnyhoppor with Zephyrus in the opener. Let's make sure he doesn't miss any. Looks like he's looking at Deck Tracker or something there, just to try and get a whole view of how this might unfold. How quickly can I get in trouble? Do I want to go with a Wild Growth, which is always the dream if you think you've got the time to do so? Get that in your head all very early. XHX's hand is what we know in the business as a bag of nothing. So he's going to have to use the card draw in that hand to try and get himself some stuff. And the good thing with Warrior is it doesn't need many cards for the stuff. It does need a little card draw to reload. But as all the cards are so good, you tend not to need them for long. So setting up already for the opportunity to Battle Rage or just Rampage, depending how he feels. There's definitely some merit against Mage for sometimes just putting a 5-6 on the board, hitting your opponent, and if they can't deal with it, then you buff it again and hit them for 8, and suddenly you expect the Mage to just fold up at that point. See how Bunny's viewing this with the Zephyrus? Does he think he's got time to go for a Wild Growth? Now, in days gone by, I would have said I was not a fan of doing things in this order. You want to decide what you're doing before you play the Zephyrus. Because otherwise you might decide, oh, I don't really want those options. But with this particular drop, you know what you were going to be offered. But sometimes the drop offers different things. So you know you want Wild Growth or Animal Companion or Backstab. You know they're likely to be offered. And he's actually going with the Backstab. So this option looks weird, but it shows how he sees the card draw and the potential for injuries in the deck. Something he didn't like about that. Right, it's decision time for XHX. If he buffs this and goes face, there's a lot of cards can deal with it. Any variety of Rays of Frost and such like with pings. It does involve the coin, it's not nice. But Arcane Breath, as we see here, just downright does the 2 with a ping. And that now puts XHX into a position with a real load of nothing going on. I've already used the phrase once, but ugh, this isn't nice now. I think oof is the phrase that I'm looking for here. Skyvateer might be able to help him, but he needs a weapon or a Corsair Cache or something really soon, or he's not going to be able to draw any cards. And with Bunnyhoppor looking at the Mana Saver already having enough removal, it looks like Bunnyhoppor is in a very strong position to take this one down. So, nice pick up there for Bunnyhoppor. Challenging board is just a good thing, but he may want to just restrict the card draw here and play nothing. That is an option that is available to him. Interested to see how he goes with this, actually. I want to see what he does here. Yeah, does go with the Drake. Going to allow the trade, but what can you do? The other option was the Mana Saber to stop the 1-3 from trading off. Terron's interesting here. Does draw the card, make the 3-4, and give the option for a bigger board should you not deal with it with Polymorph. And this is the play that he needed to have a chance here. Getting that card draw whilst sort of having the board is XHX's route back into this game. I talked about the upside of the Mage, how well it can stall out, how well it can get to those high cost, high value cards. The downside of that is when your opponent whiffs, you kind of have nothing to do. You just sit there and say, oh, I wish I could make a really big minion right now. The Twilight Drake was a blessing. Obviously, Siamat falls into that. I'd be amazed the Mana Saber's not played here. Especially as I saw him sort of looking at it at the time. But seriously, now he's into those high-end spells. And with Siamat knocking about, you know, maybe even just getting a Siamat down. A chance here to... well, almost a chance to draw some cards here, but the numbers don't quite work out for XHX. This is the sort of turn that you need to be good at the deck to work out what you want to do. What you want to do is risky skipper into another minion, into Battle Rage, into draw loads of cards with my Brute. And oh my goodness, how wonderful that is. But the reality is he may have to just play the Brute and put it into the Twilight Drake. Passing and doing nothing is a consideration that he will be considering, I guess. That's how considerations work. Yeah. Feels that he hasn't got the time to mess around. And if you want to clear this up, so be it. He's just relying on his next draw being a minion. Now Bunny has almost got control of the entire situation here, so let's see how he goes about this. Because one thing that Warrior's not great at doing, especially with no Bomb Girl, is clearing up a board of 5 and 6 health minions. And that's what Bunny will be trying to set up here. Over the next turn or two. He's in a strong spot, so... So one thing he can do, but it would be so much reliance on... Yeah, he's not going to do it. I was looking at power of creation, but that includes relying on getting lucky. Whereas you can just play that next turn. And this is the more obvious looking play. Right, well there's the minion that XHX was looking for, but is it enough now? I think it is. I think you just have to skipper in to draw some cards here. You're losing this game of Hearthstone at the moment. Drawing 4 cards can change that in a hurry. And as I said earlier, cards in Warrior tend to be good things. 4 of them, it tends to be insane. Copying this Terron is so tempting right now. There is a Skyvateer and a egg inside, I believe. So yeah, that would be pretty good going if that was this game. So my play would be to copy this, trade it into probably the Seer map because you fancy Risky Skip can take care of things. He's decided he doesn't need to be mega greedy, he just wants to kill something off. Okay, that's fairly greedy. Not trading there is putting a lot of trust that your opponent can't freeze this up and start hitting you back in the face. But he does have the combo in hand. That's why he's done it. That's why I'm casting and not playing. There's double buff available on the Korkon Elite with that mercenary, which sets up 16 points of damage. So yeah, the whole play very different to just battling. This is I kill you now. Bunnyhoppor leaves up 1 point. Alright, did he get anything? The worst, like, Cairn is such a good card normally, but it's just not the right card for the job here. Feels like you've got to taunt up, really. Alright, he doesn't believe. Usually it's turn 9, you're really scared about the combo, to be fair. But he does leave up 1 point. And that's going to be the enough. Yeah, look at his face. The eyes are widening for Bunnyhoppor. It's like, really? You've got 16 plus the one I left? Okay, then. It's easy for us to see because the telegraph was all in the hand we could see, not the hand that Bunny could see. Like, passing up, copying your Terron when it's injured with stuff that's useful in it. Telegraphed what he was thinking. XHX finding a plan that worked here against Bunnyhoppor. Takes a 2-0 lead. And he looks a different character to how he looked on day 1. Day 1 very nervous and such like. Bunnyhoppor's obviously just had a quick snack there. Something you do have to look after, especially when you do play this considered pace that always sounds like a negative. I don't know how to say it enough that this is a positive feature of how Bunny plays. But you do need to keep up your energy levels if you're going to play like that. You might end up with some incredibly long Hearthstone matches. The upside is if you're used to it and your opponent isn't, that is also an advantage in your favour. But now it has Demon Hunter taking on this Warrior. This version of Demon Hunter, in my opinion, was always better against Warrior in particular. If you can get your mid-range cards, which Bunny has, and now he's picked up the curve with the Fell Screamer. This is the curve that can beat the Warrior. But he's going to need to fill it out the middle. So this is one opportunity that is afforded to XHX against these more aggressive decks by playing the double Tolvir, double Armorsmith and double Egg. is that when he's on the coin, he's often going to have a play by coining out and having another play afterwards. Obviously, sometimes in normal builds, you would get coin Tolvir into Rampage and you'd be all well and good. But this has backup options. If he coins out the Tolvir and it gets killed, then he can still at least not waste his turn. I mean, with this particular hand, you can do what you like anyway, of course. Okay, just card after card that he can play. Corsair Cash, one of the massive deals in this particular matchup. It's one of the big deals in every matchup. You almost never throw it away. Having a 3/3 weapon though against Demon Hunter in particular, when it's established, if the Demon Hunter's not pressuring you during the turn when you play it, and it's not going to be, we can see Bunnyhoppor has whiffed. You do end up in these situations where you control the board, you hang around, even your lackeys start getting value. And as long as you're a little bit careful going into the precess turn, maybe you try and set up a board. At that point, the warrior just wins the game. Yep, Bunny now into the part of the curve that is going to get dangerous for XHX. Anything that sets up precess on 5 is a big deal, and there's no way Bunnyhoppor doesn't do this, but something he has talked about in interviews and such like is one of the things that when you play it as slowly as Bunny does play, even your 100% obvious turns, you then have to start playing slowly. Otherwise, you start to give reads to your opponent. So sometimes you will see him, like, the whole plan is pretty obvious here. See what your opponent does. You're probably playing Priestess a huge percentage of the time, and then you develop from there. So this wasn't really about planning ahead. This was more about just disguising his hand and routine, to be honest. You are much more open to scrutiny. Like, if I do this, no one cares. They've not seen me play since 2015. They don't know what I'm doing. But Bunnyhoppor's the sort of player, we've seen him on our screens all the time. So if you wanted to plan specifically to beat him, you'd better be good. But there are things you can do. The information is out there. So this works nicely. The Bomb Wrangler's being picked up going into the Priestess of Fury turn. And the shots are individual, so you do end up with 3 bombs out of it. If it hits 3 times, which is, pretty likely. And this is partly the order that XHX got his cards, but this is very well worked. This is what you want to do going into this turn. This is the turn where you can lose, especially if Fell Screamer came down on 4. So he's forced this trade. Remember, this is pre-nerf. This Priestess will be a 6/7 and difficult to get rid of. XHX is in a world of trouble here. Or as much trouble as you can be in when you're 2-0 ahead. Board cleared, bomb goes face, Priestess survives. That is one heck of a change into a legendary. Although on this occasion, he might have actually wanted the Rampage. Does he think he lives? He gets hit for 6, down to 10. We can see Metamorphosis means he's actually effectively on 5. So the other way with the Rampage, could have traded everything into this Priestess, got rid of it, but Amit will do if he survives a turn. Would desperately like to set up an Armorsmith turn here. That's another way you win this. If he had Risky Skipper going into next turn, could play Armor Smith, then copy it with a Mercenary, and that would be enough armor to get back into the game. But firstly, for that to work, he's got to trade his minion off. Otherwise, Armor Smith becomes a thing that no longer exists. Sorry, Skipper would become that thing. Okay, well, the high health of the minions, thanks to the High Priest, at least lowers, from XHX's perspective, at least the amount of damage the pings from the Priestess would do. But it's still a 6/5 monster. And Bunnyhoppor still has Metamorphosis, as well as Altruis, as well as Skull. And he's just got to organise his thinking here. Do you want to assume that the 6 to face plus the 5 ping plus around 3 damage from the pings going face at the end of turn is just too much for XHX to deal with? Or do you want to play around all eventualities and maybe try and do something different? Bunny trying to take command of the mess on the board. That's... Oh, and his whole plan revolved around 2 pings out of 7 hitting the 2, and yeah, you saw him wince there. 6 of them going face. And that's a double wince, right? Because he just wins the game if that many pings go face the other way. Although, obviously, the other way there's less damage done, blah, blah, blah. Right, this is tough. No Skipper for XHX. That's what he really needed to pick up. He can clear the board. And he knows that there's not 10 available, or Bunny would have done that last turn. So he's considering Armor Smith into Bomb Wrangler, and then Inner Rage, and then give that Rush and gain a little bit of armor. Oh, he's actually going to do it this way. This is better. This gets more armor and still clears up. And actually, this is really tasty. This forces Bunnyhoppor to take care of the Armor Smiths before the face. And XHX on the edge of stabilisation here. Bunny looks to me like he's going to have to use the Skull here. At least he won't be giving away any armour if he doesn't develop anything. It's so hard playing against Warrior. From where Bunnyhoppor's sat, he might be dead in 2 turns. You know, he could be facing Corkon elites and all sorts of nonsense. We can actually see that XHX is kind of all in, and he's not all in at all because he's still drawing more cards. That's a ridiculous thing to say, but he's been suffering at least. He doesn't have an easy, clear solution. At least not immediately. Where Bunny's sat, making this decision is very hard. And the main one is, do you give your opponent something to trade into who gain even more armour from it? And once you've made that decision, the rest does become a little easier. Okay, well, Bunny did go the route of battle raging. It makes a lot of sense. But, sorry, of sculling. The battle raging, I guess the slip there is, I think this might be a battle rage turn for XHX. It's only 2 cards. It does fit nicely into his curve now as well, with Bomb Wrangler, probably the other Armor Smith, but 2 drop of choice, and Battle Rage adds nicely up to 7. That may change his decision. I think you play the Bomb Wrangler here. It's just nice to defend against whatever might come next. And you are in a position where maybe only another priestess is dangerous. And you're not playing a priestess into this board. All you do is generate bombs for your opponent and give them armor. So Bunnyhoppor needs to take care of all these weird, unique threats. There's a taunt in the way. There's a bomb wrangler making bombs. There's an armorsmith gaining armor. You can't go face because 16's too high and you've used your Altruis. And you don't have your Warglaive, so you can't do anything clever that way. So Bunnyhoppor has an incredibly tough turn here. And when you're against the wall like this, you usually have to take your life in the hands and take a chance of some sort. So how would you go about it? Satyr, Priestess, Umberwing. You might as well play the Mage as well. Hero Power. Put 2 damage into the Tolvir. And hope the Priestess knows what she's doing. You might even be able to fit in the Fell Screamer into all that and just play every card. And then just hope your opponent doesn't kill you and hope that the power you put on board this turn gives you a chance to win in some unique scenarios. Bunnyhoppor, on the other hand, though, he thinks he's found a way to win this way. Taking care of the Armorsmith means you have to do a lot less damage. But the board you get in trade-off for that is very, very weak. So there's no lethal here. At which point the first thing you almost always do is put the Bomb Wrangler into the 1-1, generate yourself a nice bomb. Injure a minion, lower the cost of your brute. Got to plan the whole turn though, because that Armorsmith might want to be played before you do anything. And that leaves you with 1 mana, which means you might want to play the Sky Raider, which means you might want to play that first. So ordering is a thing. Only 1 pirate, so the captain can be ignored. So now I think it's going to be Armorsmith, then bump into the 1-1, then play the brute, and then decide which trade you want to take on the board to get rid of the opposing minion. Yep, 6-7 brutes just tend to be better than 6-8 ones. It's like the old Dr. Boom 7-7 being nerfed to 6-7 joke. Back when Big Game Hunter cost only 3 mana. A 6-7 injured brute often does you more good than a 6-8 not injured one because of the Battle Ragers, Rampagers and all the other good stuff that involves your minions being injured. So, Bunnyhoppor's dilemma really is what to I-beam and what to Hero Power. Hero Power and I-beam, the 6-7, is like the go-to natural thinking choice. But that not only wastes a point of damage, but again doesn't take care of the Armorsmith. You can also sort of split the difference. You can I-beam the Armorsmith and just let the Priestess go. Try and sort of go straight along the whole row. Yeah, he's leaving the I-beam decision till last. Because he could be thinking about the I-beam while doing the mechanics of playing the other cards. This is something that people who use the rope have to learn to do well. Because where this I-beam goes, who knows? You're not dealing in certainties here. You only win this game of Hearthstone if the Priestess goes in the right places. So Bunnyhoppor's decided to leave this setup. Doesn't want to face down 3 bombs. Needs to take the chance the brute gets hit twice. And it does not. But as you can see, that all-in has at least given Bunnyhoppor a chance in the game from where he's sat. His second Battle Rage, though. I feel I just want to rip this Battle Rage here, and that's what he's going to do. If he's putting the Armorsmith into a 2-2, he is going to do exactly that. He hasn't had his skipper yet. Okay, well this is really weird. There's plenty here. So put one of those challenges into the 4-2. Seems like a starting point. So the Priestess of the 4-2 are the only things that have to be taken care of when you're on 27 health here. So if you start to run low on time, just make sure they're gone, and yes, your turn may be slightly inaccurate for the rest of it. And that is exactly what XHX is doing. I think he's got everything else right as well, as it happens. But inaccuracies won't be punished as long as you get rid of those 2 main cards. And Bunnyhoppor just gives it up. He was getting outvalued, and VK's XHX takes his 2nd win of the week.